Welcome to Social Studies. As part of our Social Studies unit throughout the fall, winter, and spring, we talk about our government, and we talk about voting and how voting impacts the lives of all of us, whether it's in school, whether it's because of the way we vote for our leaders, because of the way that money is used to support people like that we our school system, our police system, our transportation system. So when we vote, it impacts all of us because it is how we decide who our leaders are and how money is spent, and how laws are enacted and how things are decided for the people. So when you vote, you're essentially electing or voting for someone who represents you and what you believe in your ideals. So what we're going to do is I have a read aloud today called I Voted, and it's titled Making a Choice Makes a Difference. So I hope you enjoy it. This might give you a little bit more insight into why we vote, why voting is part of your job as a citizen in America. It is your responsibility, it's a right and a privilege, and we'll be learning more about this throughout the school year, but especially important right now as it is an election coming up, and we know that lots of people are talking about why it's important to vote and to get out and vote, and we want you to be able to understand and know the reason behind that. All right, I'm going to shrink myself down pretty small here, and I'll just go ahead and put myself down here in the corner while we are reading. So this is titled I Voted. Making a Choice Makes a Difference. So the author is Mark Schulman and Serge Bloch. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Which do you like better? Apples or oranges? Ice cream or cupcakes? Ice cream or cupcakes? Trampolines or swimming pools? Every time you make a choice, you can say that you voted for it. This simple and lighthearted introduction to voting moves from making choices about food and fun to the steps and strategies involved in choosing a classroom pet. All right, it then explains how those same principles apply when we choose to vote for leaders at the local, state, and national level. All right, let's begin. I voted. Making a choice makes a difference. Mark Schulman, illustrated by Serge Bloch. And it's dedicated to Barbara and Bill and everyone who works to get the vote out. See you on Election Day. And also for my father in remembrance of the days when he took me to the polling station as a child. With thanks to Sheena and Blandine. Which do you like better? Apples or oranges? Markers or crayons? Trampolines or swimming pools? Which do you like better? Some choices are easy to make. Ice cream or onions? Some choices are harder to make. Ice cream or cupcakes? Oh! Anytime you choose one thing instead of another, you can say that you voted for it. And you're the only one voting. When you're the only one voting. Do you want a kiss? Yes or no? You tend to get what you want, but people usually vote together as a group. Imagine you're choosing a classroom pet. Everyone will be voting. A classroom pet, that sounds fun. And the pet you'll all get is the pet that the most people vote for, even if it isn't the one that you wanted. So if you want your choice to win, here's what you can do before everyone votes. You can let people know which choice you want. It looks like he wants a turtle. You can work with the people who want the same thing. You can talk to the people who want something different. Oh, it looks like some people want maybe a rabbit. Maybe you will change their mind. Maybe they will change yours. And then when it's time to vote, it's simple. Sometimes everyone knows what you choose. Sometimes it's a secret. But everyone's vote must get counted. And the winner is whoever got the most votes. Maybe your side will win. Hooray! Maybe your side won't win, but that's okay. But if you don't vote, you don't get to choose. And your vote might be the one that makes the difference. Win or lose, when everyone follows the rules, voting is fair for everyone. It's the same when grown-ups vote. Grown-ups vote for the people who help us run our towns, our cities, our states, and our country. They could be mayors, governors, representatives, senators, or even the President of the United States. These people pass laws that can change the way we live. So that's what I was talking about. Passing laws, things like where money goes for education, where money goes for law enforcement and transportation. So we have to choose our leaders carefully, because different leaders want different things. Yes, no, why? Yes and no. Some will do things you really, really like. Ooh, welcome, free for kids. And some will do things you really don't. No kids allowed. That's why it's important to choose the leaders that we want. So we vote. We vote for candidates. A candidate is someone asking for your vote. So right now in our state, we're voting for our governor and also our school superintendent. There's 2 choices for governor candidates and 2 choices for school superintendent candidates in Washington state. Please, I am the best and I am modest. How do you know which candidate will make the best choices? Me, no, me. You listen, much like we do in class. Vote ice cream. You read, so you become informed about the person. You talk to the people you trust. What do you think? Ice cream is good. Sometimes you can even ask the candidates yourself. What's your position on ice cream? Yes, it's a very, very hot topic. And when we ask candidates ourselves, it's often called a town hall. And that's somewhere where we can gather and actually speak to candidates and have them listen to our questions and they respond. When election day finally comes, everyone goes to the nearest voting place. Once you've had your 18th birthday and your name is added to the list of voters, you can vote too. At every voting place, everyone stands in line. Everyone finds their name on the voter list. Everyone votes for a candidate. And somebody wins. I remember the first time I voted for a candidate in the presidential election. It was very exciting because when you turn 18, you're able to vote. And I had turned 18 and I was able to vote for the very first time. And this year, I will have the chance to vote again. We're voting on laws, we're voting on our president and vice president, we're voting on our governor, our state superintendent of education, and there's also some judges and all kinds of things. So I had to read and educate myself about all of the issues and people on the ballot so that I would be informed and know who to vote for. If you're old enough, it's important to vote. I'm old enough. Not me. If you're not old enough to vote, you know what you can do? Yes? You can listen, you can read, you can talk, and you can ask questions. And tell someone who's old enough to bring you along on election day. When voting is done, you might get a sticker. And that sticker will say, "I voted." I hope you like that story. We'll go over a little bit of these easy steps for voting and how the government works, just to give you a little bit better idea. But I hope it gives you a better idea of how voting works and why it's important for us to vote. We will talk much more about this. We have a couple books we're going to be reading and a few little lessons as well, and we actually might have some things as teachers that we ask you to vote on so that you can get an experience of what it's like to be a voter. All right, in order to vote, you have to be 18 years or older. So you have a couple years, maybe about 10 or 11 more years, but you'll get there soon enough. Be a U.S. citizen, be able to prove where you live in the U.S., like you get mail. Well, I had some mail here. Get mail, and so you would show your mail. Register to vote in your community, and vote every time there's an opportunity. Usually, we vote about every 4 years for president and government officials, but some things like laws and some smaller districts might vote every 2 years for things like council members and stuff like that. Make sure that, for you as a kid, make sure that adults around you vote on every election day if they can. And how our government works. So we have three main branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial. The executive branch includes the President of the United States and those that work for him. Now remember, those votes are held every 4 years. The legislative branch is also known as Congress. They make and vote on the laws that are important to our country. Congress meets at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and there's two chambers, the Senate chamber and the House of Representatives. The Senate has 100 members because each of our 50 states sends 2 members, and each senator serves a term of 6 years. They can be reelected as well. The House of Representatives is much larger. It's 435 members. The states with the largest populations have more members and they get more votes. So like Texas, California, New York, Florida, those are some of the biggest states in our nation. They've got tens of millions of people living in them. So they have more representatives because they're bigger states. So Wyoming has a very small population. They have 1 representative. But California has a very large population and it has 53 representatives. These are all 2-year terms. The judicial branch, now this is where the judges who help decide if the laws are fair and people have broken the law. They're charged with upholding the Constitution. So there's the Supreme Court, and you might have remembered I did a read aloud about someone who recently passed away on the Supreme Court, called Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we did that read aloud about 4 weeks ago. So that is the highest court in the United States. And then there's local courts as well. There are 2 main political parties, the Democratic and Republican, and most people will either vote as a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. The state governments, they mirror the national government. Each state is led by a governor, and it's kind of like our governor, Mr. Inslee, is like our president almost. He's kind of like the president of our state. The local government also has a town. We have a mayor. The mayor of Seattle is Miss Durkin, and those people typically serve for 4 years. But there's many elected officials, judges, sheriffs, school board representatives, and such as that. So remember, when you're 18, you'll be able to vote. But right now, always remind those in your life, if they're able, go ahead and vote, because it impacts you. It might impact your school. It might impact where you live. It might impact how money is spent on how we get around. So remember, every time there's a vote, make make sure and vote. All right. Thank you guys for reading with me. This was a great book, and I look forward to learning more about voting and how our government works later on in our social studies lessons. But right now, have a good afternoon. I'll see you later.